Good afternoon. This is Veterans Talk. It ain't nothing but a thing, but it's a thing we want you to tune into every Saturday afternoon when you can. I'm Elsa McGee, your host, and I'm here doing the same thing I've been trying to do ever since I started the show. Make sense out of a sensitive situation called the plight of veterans in the USA and the USA with the plight of veterans. We're talking about veterans, talking to veterans, and today, one of my co-hosts is missing. I'm here with two heroes, and my friend, D. How you doing, baby?
I'm doing all right today. How you doing, Mr. Elson?
I'm blessed to have you. And your friend, I'm meeting today. She was in here before you. She must have been excited or something, man.
She was excited to get up here and come see you, get her voice out and do some Veterans Talk today.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to turn the show over to you and let you run it today because, see, we're talking about Black history.
Right on.
Which I think one element in the community that don't know your history.
Right.
The community just don't know your history. And I think that gave out a lot of what I experienced during the election last year. That my community, our community just don't have any respect for female leadership.
Mm.
So I'm gonna try. I'm fixing. I'm gonna make nobody mad. I ain't gonna do that.
You can't make me mad.
Let me go ahead and take my scarf off.
Yeah, look, it's about to get hot in here, he said. All right. Well, I'm Daisha Dominique, also D, as he spoke before, and I'm here with Sanctum Peace LLC, and I represent holistic and well-being and health, wellness, helping everybody to build a community, get out there and rebuild, because like you said, it is a community, and our voices don't get heard, so we're here to tell our story. And my sister here, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, hey everyone, Veterans Talk. My name is Kalicia Wright, and I'm really excited. So thanks to the standing host, Mr. LC, for being here on today. Thank you, D, for your invitation. Yeah. And I am here representing, first and foremost, the God of my understanding, representing the city of Atlanta. I'm a native of Atlanta, and that's not something that we come across very often, us natives, but also representing my organization, Speak Life Nation LLC. We'll have our launch, LAUNCECH, I'm sorry, excuse my draw. And so we'll be launching on next Friday, February 21st. And so I'm here to talk about all things veteran, all of my experiences or some of my experiences as it relates to Black history and what's going on with the current administration as I understand it, and just how we can be a community, as Daisha mentioned before, an African American community, and be what we were always meant to be, and that's a communal people, a tribal people, and me just doing my part to help in that call. So I'm excited to be here.
Okay, all right. Well, excited to have you. Now, let me ask you this. So, as a veteran, what brought you to join the military?
Ooh, how long is this show? Okay, I promise I won't joke. Sometimes you have to laugh.
All right, listen,
right?
We're going to get there.
Yeah, what brought me into the military? I call myself a late bloomer because I was 20 when I went into the military. A lot of people went in when they were 18. And at 20, those 2 years, I thought I had life figured out. But the senior year of my high school career, I have a sister that's 2 years older than me and a brother who is 2 years younger than I. And the week of my senior prom, my sister was diagnosed with cancer, had emergency surgery, and we spent, my immediate family and I, the better part of a year taking care of her. She was hospitalized for 3 months, and the tumor was on her spine, so she couldn't walk, and had to learn how to walk over again at the Shepherd Center and all of that stuff. And I couldn't go back to school. I did my freshman year after graduating. I did my freshman year at Spelman College, HH. And, I wanted to stay home, to be close to family and all of that stuff, but I didn't know the concept of grief at the time. Children, I was just, becoming a young adult and coming out of my teens, and I grew up in the South with the adage that, children are to be seen and not heard. And so I didn't really feel like I had an outlet to express my feelings. And I had started, that was my first little stint in the street. Mm-hmm. And I set out my, the first semester of my sophomore year. Decided not to go back because my sister subsequently passed of the cancer that she had, Ewing sarcoma, August 20th of 1999, so the summer after my freshman year. And I sat out for a semester. That January, I entered into Georgia State University, and it was more like Capitol Avenue University because I was not going to school. and so I said, before this gets out of control,
let me do something
different.
I heard that.
And the amount of grief, the amount of sadness and frustration that I could not make sense of, I remembered that I had scored like a 96 or 97 on the ASVAB. And I give honor to my grandfather, who's deceased, who taught me how to do a lot of things with my hands and stuff like that, to be able to pass those parts of the ASVAB. And and so I was like, well, I'll go into the military, because I hear when you go, you can't just come out.
Yeah.
And I felt like I needed a place where I could, one, build a career, but I could also be in a place where I could reduce the level of harm that I had already started through, drinking and hanging out and, experimenting with a few illicit things. And so that is how I come to go to the military. And I actually became a police officer. I remember my Nanette Griggs. If you're out there, Nanette Griggs, she was my recruiter. I still have her phone number in my phone. And I remember her. I have not talked to her in over 2 decades. But I remember her saying, "Are you sure you want to be a police officer?"
And what made you sure about being a police officer? Because
I was angry.
Doesn't mean you were angry. You said, "I'm going to be a police officer."
I was angry. I was like, let's
do
some
it.
People up.
Let's do it. Was it every and anybody to lock up, or was it like you just like?
Oh, that was.
What was that experience like?
That experience was partly what I expected, but part of what I didn't expect it. Part of it was I was in a male-dominated industry. Mm-hmm. I felt like I could handle that because I was always into sports, always played with the guys and stuff like that. But I also have a trauma background that includes sexual abuse. So I kind of had this love-hate relationship with men. I did not trust men at all. Mm-hmm. And so that was a unique situation. But at the same time, there was sort of this familiarity with men, and my biological father wasn't in my life. And so some of the older men, even though they were a different demographic, felt like fathers to me. Mm-hmm. And so that was nice because it was 1 or 2 females in my unit.
So you're saying, like, as an officer, because that's the job that you chose as when you went in, right? So we have it in the Navy. What is that rate?
It's for everybody. Master at Arms.
For everybody that doesn't know across, because Army, Navy, we call them different things. Mm-hmm. So the Master at Arms. So when you're saying that you were angry and that's why you chose that job, looking back, would you have chose a different rating?
No. And I say no because there's a contingency. If I had known about perhaps what I may have wanted to do in the future, at that time, everything that I thought my life could have been, would have been, should have been, just crumbled with the death of my sister. Okay. So I couldn't see beyond literally the day that I had. And so I probably wouldn't have chosen a different rating looking back.
So So as an officer in the military, now this is something completely different than what you're doing now. How did that bring you to your current situation?
Oh, wow. So sometimes you have to figure out first what it is that you don't want to do. Mm-hmm. And so being a military police officer, I realized I did not want to be a police officer in the civilian world. One, I came out of the military in the year of 2004, moved back to Atlanta, and I also had some negative experiences, not just as a result of being in the military, but I did suffer a military sexual assault as a result of being in an all-male. Well, that it's not just being all-male, because it's not all men, but this particular gentleman who did not know boundaries. And so that was one of the things that a new escape. I wanted to escape that. The marriage, because I got married the same year I went into the military. And so the marriage that I had, in a short period of time, it was pretty clear that we were going to have some issues and struggles that we needed to navigate post me coming out of the military. And I honestly didn't want to come back to Atlanta. But we came back to Atlanta. When I got to Atlanta, I had several female friends who were joining the force, the DeKalb County Police Force, the City of Atlanta Police Force. They were all trying to get me to come on board, and I said absolutely not, because I know this city. And it was very interesting when I had run-ins with people that I knew in the military that I had to arrest or write up or sanction in some sort of way, sometimes physical altercations with them. One of the worst things that I experienced was actually a shipmate of mine who stayed off base, shot himself and killed himself and committed suicide. And to see that.
You had to come on scene, and
I was actually first on scene.
Wow.
And I was accompanied by another male officer, but he was just kind of lagging behind. And because we knew this person and dispatch things like not congruent with what we were actually walking into, our guards were a little down. And we made some assumptions because we knew this particular gentleman. He didn't work in our unit, but he was a military member. And I kind of walked in. I mean, I had my gun drawn and stuff like that, protocol, but I did not anticipate seeing what I saw.
Because you knew. Did you? But okay. Did you know ahead of time that's who you were walking into? Because I know you said your guards, were down.
Yeah, no, I did not know, because what we received from dispatch was that because this person lived off base. But it was, as you know, most military towns can be rural towns and stuff like that. And so people do all sorts of things, especially those of us that learn how to shoot weapons and stuff like that. And so if you're in a space where you have a backyard, you can do that. And so he was kind of one of those gentlemen where, he big gun aficionado and, for sport. And so he would, be in his backyard a lot of times and practicing and stuff like that. And so what we got was that neighbors had been complaining about, having heard gunshots before. This time they only heard a single gunshot. And so we thought that we were just going to ask him again, hey, your neighbors are always complaining about the shooting that you're doing and stuff like that. Yeah, please, stop. And so that's why our guards were down. We didn't think about the implications of one gunshot and how that was very different from the previous calls that we had gotten about noise complaints and stuff like that. And so, when we got on scene, it was kind of like we're coming in the house and we're practicing this. This is the way that we enter into a house and stuff. But we're expecting to see our friend and shipmate to just calm him down and but it became very clear when we walked into his bedroom, and the very first thing I remember before I saw anything or heard anything was hearing my boot hit the carpet. And there was this big squish, and and so because I'm also a trauma-informed care person, I won't go into the details of that as to not, for those that are here and those that are watching and listening, create any secondary trauma by being too detailed with that story. But and it was at that moment that I looked down and I could see what we were dealing with.
Okay. So let me ask you, what was your greatest experience in the military?
Oh, my greatest experience in the military was actually came through 9/11.
Okay.
I was, so we have C School, veterans that are watching, and military members, you guys know what that is. But for those that may be watching that don't, it's kind of like getting your bachelor's degree and then going on and getting your master's degree. And so I'd gone to C School because I thought that when I came out of the military, I was going to work for the federal government, and I wanted to do some sort of detail. And they had this TDY position available where you could fly over and be a part of a convoy for foreign dignitaries. And so I got to do that a few times, going over to parts like Sigonella, Italy, and stuff like that. But that was during a crucial time, of course, as those that were here during 9/11 remember what the climate and stuff was like at that time, because I was always stationed within the United States. I was never stationed overseas. So one, it was exciting that I got orders to go overseas for a little bit, but also to be a part of, the movement of foreign dignitaries, those that worked at the embassy, and I got a newfound appreciation for those that worked in foreign embassies, U.S. embassies and stuff like that, and it was such a great honor. It made me feel as close as I could to come back, but also to the mission, the Operation Enduring Freedom mission that had begun as a result of what happened at 9/11. And then the funniest memory I have of that is it was my very first time being sunburned. I never wore
sunscreen because yes, you definitely have to
Right.
over there because the sun is bright. It beams off the sand. Oh my goodness! And yes, your
The
skin.
entire front part of my face peeled off.
Wow.
But I always played softball in the summer in the Georgia heat, and so I was like, I've never been sunburned, but.
So that was the first time, the first time and the funniest time
Right.
all in one. A great experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as us and women as in the military, we do go through a lot of different things. And as we talk about on Veterans Talk sometimes about our experiences. So, you were in a male-dominated field. And a lot of the times we go about doing different things. And I heard you speak on some of the times where you were outnumbered. So how do you feel about being a woman in the military in a male-dominated field? How does that approach for you?
Like I said, at first it didn't. It was a place of familiarity because of the sports history that I had in and out of the community. I'm kind of jumping over here, so just keep me on.
I got
keep
you.
me on task as I need to be, because my story is kind of layered, if you will. But without my real father being in my life, and that began at the age of 4. I believe I was always searching, and growing up, I didn't know what I was searching for. But whenever I was around a group of men that seemed to be thoughtful men, caring men, responsible men, it made me feel a little more safe in a lot of instances. But it was this dual or double consciousness almost, because I think it was my deep desire to feel safe. And so I kind of created this reality or sense of reality that this was a safe environment, because that's what I desired so much of. But the reality was that in a lot of instances, I trusted men that I worked with too soon, too often, and with too much of my vulnerability. And so that made me a right target for some of the things that happen to women in male-dominated
fields. Okay. I heard what you're saying. So you chose to be a police officer because you were angry and you wanted to be, and you wanted security and all of the above, and that's what brought you to where you are now, which is what you're doing now, which is your company is called Lyve. What is it?
Speak Like Nation.
Speak Like Nations. So it's a lot of the things that brought you to where you are now, right? And as we spoke, male-dominated fields. You have what we're trying to do for the community now. Because at first you didn't want to come back, and now you're here. Mm-hmm. So now you're here moving around doing different things. So what are you doing in the community now?
So what I'm doing in the community now with Speak Lyve Nation, Speak Lyve Nation is a professional consulting firm that helps to connect mental health resources to elite athletes. And that has been birthed out of, one, some of my trauma experience, but also the experiences that I've listened to, learned from other veterans such as yourself, other women and men, veterans, and also the work that I've done in between service and what I'm doing now. I'm a board certified hospital chaplain. I specialize in trauma-informed care and crisis intervention, and work in a lot of substance use and abuse communities. You heard me say just briefly, I kind of skimmed over that, but being in 12-step recovery, next Friday, a day at a time, I have 12 years sober. And so just all of these different communities and experiences that I've had in my life where I didn't think that the dots would ever connect. Speak Lyve Nation is all of those dots kind of connecting. And so in the community is really important. My daughter is a Division I athlete at the University of Georgia. This is her freshman year. And I spent some time working in the church. Another male-dominated industry. There's not very many women pastors. There is in the denomination that I'm currently in, but I grew up in the Baptist tradition, and so they're not in the Baptist tradition. And before I was called into formal ministry, I was in corporate. So again, another male-dominated industry because I was in corporate leadership. And so now I'm, by the grace of God, able to put all of those things together. All of my experiences. I call myself a wounded healer. It's not a term that I created or coined. It is a term that's used by a theologian by the name of Henry Nouwen. And he did a lot of work on family systems theories and things of the like. And one of the things that he talks about as far as people who do the work that we're doing in communities and stuff is the way in which we identify with shared experiences and shared stories. And because of the background that I have with my own trauma, processing it, healing through it, and then the ongoing maintenance and stuff with it is why I thought that was such a fitting name for me to, kind of go by for people to recognize me. A lot of people have said it in one way or another, just didn't know the phrase. And so I'm more of a wounded healer in the community.
Okay. Now, how do you go about helping the community feel?
So there's a couple of different programs that my organization has. You can find it on speaklyvenation.com, and that's Life with a Y. And the first program is something called the TAG program. So the TAG program specifically focuses on trauma, addiction, and grief. My model, the company model, is that I do some hands-on workshops and speaking engagements and educational things out in the community, but I have what's called service professionals. So people who do this work every day. So there's a company called Brain Power Hour, who is our premier therapist organization, and what they offer is something that a lot of therapeutic offices don't, and that's hypnotherapy. A lot of people have gotten away from that, but it works really well for athletes in particular because they're already familiar with putting themselves in a trance, so to speak, as they go into deep meditation, try to focus. You see them with their headphones on a lot and stuff like that, and so we work with organizations such as Brain Power Hour, who has a staff of different therapists and psychologists who offers this particular type. Another part of it is working with organizations such as DBHGD, the Department of Behavioral Health for Substance Use and Abuse Disorders. There's a gentleman by the name of Dr. Von Wrighton who is over that organization. And I've worked with him in the past, along with the Clinton Foundation, to deal with things such as the opioid crisis, going back and reframing and talking about and educating people about the crack cocaine epidemic, right, where we did not get the same support as those who have suffered from the opioid crisis are now receiving. Because what we found is a lot of our athletes are children of households that were impacted by the crack epidemic. So it's really important for us to talk about that. So in the addiction component, addiction can be many things, but we basically say an addiction is something that you do, but you don't want to do. And then we take a look at whether or not it's a healthy habit or not. And so I have professionals, addiction counselors, different facilities and centers within the community in the Metro Atlanta area that hold space for those that we work with, so that we work on a referral basis and make certain that if we come across someone who needs addiction help, education, or counseling, including family members, to be able to connect them as quickly as possible for that help. And then grief is something that I think a lot of us deal with every day. Some people equate grief to the loss of a loved one. Many times with the athletes that we deal with, it could be the loss of an opportunity, the loss of the school that they went to. Now that we have the transfer portal, that really, really has changed the game in sports and stuff for a lot of athletes, as far as the transfer portal and stuff. And so we walk alongside them in the grief that they may feel, give them the space and the opportunity to, some people call it complain. in the ministry or theologian world, we call it lamentation. So
lamentation.
Yeah, so offering them the space to lament, and we do most of that through grief groups. And then there's a second component, which is called Thrive. And Thrive is, I call it my baby, because it is the dream groups that we have. A lot of people minimize the dreams and the effects that dreams have, and the impact that dreams can have in their life, how things can show up. A lot of it can be subconscious, things that you don't work out in your mind and what we call your waking state. But a lot of it can be messages, things that you are not attentive to, a person is not attentive to, because we have so much stimuli while we are awake, and so many distractions. And so teaching people how to tap into their dreams, if they remember them, or rituals that they can practice in order to wake up and write them down. And then we talk about those in our dream groups. And we have other fun things like the art of manifestation. I teach that. And then we work with a young guy who does most of his sound engineering and production for celebrity artists and stuff. But I pitched to him, hey, have you ever done voiceover work? Or have you ever, recorded people's affirmations? And so we do affirmations a lot, write down, those great qualities or great things that we want to, what we call manifest. So, I am beautiful, I am whole, I am enough. And as great as we are at multitasking, we think, when we do that, that's great. But science has shown us the things that happens in the brain, that happens in the mind when we do that. And so you have the task of writing down things. Well, first thinking of things, writing them down, and you can put them on your board or your refrigerator, and then you read them. Well, when you read them silently, you're reading and trying to comprehend at the same time, right? When you read them aloud, you're reading it, trying to comprehend it, but also trying to listen as you speak. And what science shows is that you can speed up manifesting your goals, getting rid of things that you want to rid your life of, let go of, if you're able to record your own voice and listen to it, because the only thing you're focused on at that time is listening to your own voice. And so it resonates with people more. And then our last program is, we call it TTP, so Trust the Process. And that is...
Oh, that name.
I know,
that
right?
name, Trust the Process in itself.
Yeah. And that is for our Division I collegiate athletes who do not move on to the next level, but had a huge desire to do so.
That's tough.
Yeah, and in today's landscape, we have athletes that's making upwards of $30,000-$40,000 per month in some of their fields, and they're not going to come out even with a college degree with a job making that type of money. And so it's a huge adjustment. But even if we take the money off the table, you know, the community, so we provide, you know, a community space for them where they can be around, you know, others who are like them, who have gone through the things that they have gone through. Watching my daughter and supporting her, that level, I mean, it's difficult enough for a high school senior to apply for schools, and it's stressful waiting to hear back and all of that stuff. But you add sports to that, you know.
Do you provide housing for them as well? Because I heard you when you said that you provide them with a space. Do you provide housing for them as well? Because, like, you know, I can believe that it has to be some type of trauma mentally for you to be able to be at that high level, and then all of a sudden now you're not performing at this level. You know, what type of mental state you would be in. So is there a place for them to go, or do they just come here and there? How does that work?
So far, most of the young people that we work with are not facing homelessness or becoming unhoused. They either return to family members in safe environments. They go on to pursue a master's degree. Sometimes that's that middle of the road that can, you know, get them another 2 years, you know, in a stable environment and give them the time to kind of figure things out. But most of the time they do have housing. However, people across the board, even our high schoolers, sometimes we're amazed. I still am amazed at our high schoolers and middle schoolers who are living in cars. And stuff. And so I do partner with some people in within the community around the greater Atlanta area that offers housing. Again, most of the services that we provide are on a referral base, but we have these relationships, and we have set aside housing, set aside resources for therapy, so that we could break the obstacle, or break down the obstacle and the barrier of time, because these lists are long for a lot of the services that we offer. And so we have these things already set aside. So if we had people that needed housing, we also have organizations that we work with that do provide housing. And then I offer sometimes temporary housing. Now that I'm an empty nester.
Okay. How many rooms? Yes, sir.
Yes, we're going to switch up a little bit because this is Veterans Talk.
Okay.
And we have veterans talking to veterans. So
Awesome.
we want to let the audience know that on Monday morning at City Hall, Michael Julian Barnes will be honoring 3 Mumford Marines. So we're inviting all veterans to come down, you know, the City Hall, 11 o'clock, from 11 to 1:30. And I'll be there, but I'll be leaving to start the first VA claim agent training for Healing Our Village.
Okay.
You know, so we're gonna be busy getting things done in the ATL. Now, you know, I'm a Grady baby, so I want to talk to you about stuff
That's why I was
that you got going on, because this is something that we are about to do with Vietnam Veterans of America, Sons of Atlanta Vietnam War Memorial, which we expect any day now for the mayor to come bring us to Piedmont Park on the front lawn between 12th and 14th Street.
Are you talking about your
to do a
bricks?
groundbreaking
Right.
for the Sons of Atlanta, representing the 240 young men from Atlanta, Georgia, and Fulton County who paid the ultimate price for the freedoms that we're enjoying in this country today.
Wow.
And to get somebody to think about the memorializing experience, we're going into the libraries and community centers with folks like you.
Wow.
That we're going to turn some of this stuff around in the community, you know, with your work, with our work, as we're building foundations, networks, to make sure that what we serve for is preserved in the community. Now, I got an email, well, a text from Greg Fan, the preacher man, my brother. What he's doing is followed up on what Al Sharpton, Reverend Al, is doing nationally, calling for a blackout now, because we got some problems. You know, we got some problems. We got to respond to these problems right now. But we don't want to be distracted from what we're doing already. You know, we got to be able to carry the ball and win the game. And the way we're going to win it right now is bringing community together. You know, and we're going to speak back to these people in Washington and these local, like on the Dingman Dome, right down in the street from here, and down neighborhood in the capital. We got some bad bills passing through the community. That's coming for the community that we need to focus on. We need to respond to, you know, like veterans. You know, we're the guys, we're the people that have served to keep this country free, to make sure these opportunities are available for everybody. Now we got some clowns in the street that's trying to take that back or trying to move us back. We got to be able to do what we're doing here today, be a voice to the community about the brilliant leadership that we got in sisters like yourself, like Dee. And actually, you know, doing, you know, not just talking about it like they say, being about it, you know, doing the stuff that it takes to make the changes that we want to see in our community. When I was growing up in Atlanta, there was no 13 and 14-year-old in gun battles.
Yes, sir.
You know, we got to stop this. And the only way to stop it is to stop it. And that's to come together and bring all the resources that we got together to the community. Because right now, these clowns are talking about eliminating the Department of Education. What kind of impact they're going to have on Spelman, Clark, Morris Brown, Mercer, all the schools that we learn from the schools. I got more. I know more millionaires right now in Atlanta than I knew when I was growing up.
Absolutely.
So we got to keep this going. But there's some activities taking place in Washington, D.C. and up under the Georgia Dome right now that's trying to cut that short. We cannot, as veterans, sit back and act like we're slow. We don't know what's going on, and we're going to wait till the break till we respond to it. A national shutdown is being called by Al Sharpton. And we're asking everybody to join it because we're all winning. We're all in this together. We need to send a message to the billionaires. If I don't buy nothing, they ain't making nothing. Dr. King brought that message to us, and you know, in the 60s. And you know, right now it's more applicable than ever. We got to do. We cannot continually cooperate with the oppressor. You know, we got to be able to make growth out of what we got. The opportunities that we got in America today is because of our service. As veterans, we cut the way.
Which is the thing. So you as a black-owned business, that's what we're getting at. How does that affect you? Now that you've said everything about, you know, what you're doing in the community, this also affects you as a black-owned business, as a black woman-owned business. So to the current situation.
Well, I just want to make sure that everybody hear the crowd right now.
That's
in terms of what you gonna do
when it comes. Because as of right now, we have, that's what I mean, we have the Targets and the Walmarts and all this. This is a small-owned business. So if we're boycotting and doing all these things, because on the way over, I've heard about this, you know, when you're saying Al Sharpton is calling on the blackouts. We have things like I don't want to say her name wrong, Tabitha Brown. It's a lot of black-owned businesses that are in these locations. So if we're boycotting and we're only buying black, what do we do about that when you want to go to Target, when you want to go to Walmart? Because now you have these black-owned businesses that are in these stores, so now they're not making money because they bought these products and these different things years in advance. with expectation that we're going to buy black. So now that we're not buying Target, we're not buying Walmart, you're not going to that store. My sisters and my brothers aren't making this money. So how are we putting it back in the community? How is this small-owned business working?
If you would join the conversation, if you look at the text that was put out, and I repeated it to my contacts, we're talking about those businesses that have side that are doing right there. You know, they need to come outside. I'm just gonna tell you straight up. We're not gonna make exceptions to the boycott. If they're a black independent business, we're gonna do business with them. But don't think that we're going into Walmart and Targets until they back off. So if those businesses in Targets and Walmart can't stand with us, are we supposed to stand with them? I don't understand that. Because right now, it's about what's being done to all of us.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
I have, if I may, because I want to answer your question too, but I also want to piggyback on what you were saying. So for my generation, and one, let me say, I believe in intergenerational work, right? And so I'm with you and with Reverend Al Sharpton in boycotting some of these establishments like Walmart and Target and so on. Actually, I have not shopped at those places in a very long time anyway. But along with that, I have actually, under Speak Life Nation, started what we call a social media resistance campaign or protest. And I call it the new DEI. And that acronym stands for divisive, exclusive, and inhumane. That is my personal and professional take on that. So I'm also asking Veterans Talk, let's boycott. If you are of the social media generation and you're on social media and platform, please use that hashtag, the new DEI, divisive, exclusive, and inhumane, because that's exactly what it is. As it relates to DEI and how it affects small businesses, it depends on the small business. They're two separate things. So luckily for my organization, on one hand, it's okay because I fall under a category called set aside. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't have some, I won't say fear, but a little bit of anxiety and uncertainty, because with this administration, who knows what can happen when we wake up tomorrow or when we go to bed tonight, what's happening in the middle of the night. So thank God doesn't go to sleep. But that's the one thing. Where it's mostly affecting is those of us that are hiring diversified candidates who are qualified, and everyone just being lumped under DEI as if you're a person of color, like you're not qualified for what it is that you're doing, which is, again, the most insane thing. But I think the history of America, you guys should watch Men, that's narrated by Will Smith. And he narrated this movie back in 2021, but it's the story of Frederick Douglass and the Constitution, and how we should talk more about the 14th Amendment, because that's where our rights and stuff came from. And so I think being informed, in that way. And so, we have to come out of our Black-owned businesses and use our voices and stuff like that. I also agree with you, that what do we do with our dollars? Because there's no... And I say that because we do have to figure out something to do with our dollars. Now, I would love for our community to save money, right? But historically, we still are the biggest consumers in the world, just about, right? So we're going to spend our money somewhere. It's just, where are we going to spend our money?
Well, we got a lot of black businesses.
Yeah, we have a lot.
And then, let me say this too. We got a lot of diverse businesses, minority businesses in this country. See what the billionaire crew is doing? They're separating us. They're gonna, like Malcolm talked about, the crumbs off the master's table. We're not gonna be set back because of that. We got a few vendors at Walmart. Right? We got more vendors outside of Walmart.
We do.
And I'm and buying those that's inside Walmart to come on out. Right now, right now, you can't listen. You can't keep feeding the hand that's oppressing you and coming up with all kind of intellectual excuses for it. Because when we tell you the truth, they're gonna keep that foot on your neck until you break their leg.
I agree.
And the other part about it too, you know, is, oh man. So you're Grady baby. I was born at Georgia Baptist, but my grandmother was born at Grady. And the other part that I'm doing in the community is a project. So I actually, with Michael Julian Bond, so I'll see you on Monday. I'll be there on Monday.
I'll be here Monday.
And I actually just had the honor of being asked to be on the Civil War Commission and on the board that they have, the base board, and everything. And part of that is because my family was part of the first family that settled Reynoldstown, Georgia, and the Lane Carson Center, Recreation Center, that's under Atlanta Parks and Recs, is co-named after my grandmother's aunt, which is my great-great aunt, and she lived until I was a junior in high school. So I grew up with her. Her name is Corrine Lane, and so I'm really excited that I just was able to reconnect the organization, the things that we're doing in the community, and everything in conjunction with what C.T. Vivian and the organization with Mr. Don Rivers over at the Lane Carson Center. And so, you know, that area now is at least 70% white, right? But I was floored when I started getting out and asking questions and, you know, and stuff like that in the area to find out that the people in that neighborhood in Reynoldstown, Georgia, that was settled by the Reynolds family, my great aunt Corrine Lane, she's the one that brought the elementary school. They said we needed an elementary school for the black children. And it ended up being in Reynoldstown, Georgia, and they called it I.P. Reynolds, which was the son of the Reynolds family that settled in Reynoldstown. And so that is part of my family history and why I am so energized and excited about this work and the African American culture and making certain that not that just we restore it, but that we reclaim it, because Reynoldstown belonged and was settled by freed African American slaves in 1870, just 5 years after slavery was quote unquote abolished, right? And Kendrick Lamar, I know that's a hot topic right now, but there's a whole Atlanta stanza that he starts out talking about, you know, the trains and the railroads, and he was talking about the historic district of Reynoldstown, Georgia, and so I'm excited about that work, and that work is done in tandem with Michael Julian Bond. So we're looking for veterans and others of the community, but this is how, I won't say misinformed because I'm not about educating dominant culture. They are intelligent enough to educate themselves, however they choose not to. And the people that live there thought and still think that Reynoldstown is named Reynoldstown after Reynolds aluminum foil.
We got black history.
Black
Let
history.
me remind y'all something. Black history is American history.
It is.
We should never let them say anything different, because the contributions of our people is the foundation of what we're looking at that they're being taken over today.
Exactly.
Even to the White House. So we know this history. We got to be able to represent it. Actually, we got to be able to step up and represent it. And right now, more than any other period in political history, right now, we have a dictator has taken over the White House. Think about it the way you want to, but look at the impact it's going to have on you. That's all I got to say. But we're going to say this. The Sons of Atlanta Vietnam War Memorial is not just a monument being built in the park, but it's bringing home into our hometown those that paid the ultimate price for the freedom we got, to make sure that their community know about them. So we're going into the community centers and libraries with, I got a book.
He said, I got a book.
Okay.
I got a book
We all
too.
have a book.
Yeah, I got a book.
Veterans writings. It's going to be And you know, this is what the parking commissioner is telling me. That he gonna let veterans, he gonna buy the books off from veterans to put in the library.
In the library.
You know,
wait a minute, hold on.
Book in Hunt Street Library.
I'm about to go somewhere. I'm about to go somewhere because you just had me running. My mind just started wondering because I know you said you're a bull and you're gonna cut me. But listen, this is really where I was going with this because I have to see both sides of the story. And I heard what you said, and this is my idea of this whole boycotting and buying black because definitely we need to be doing something, right? But you have to think about product wise, right? Because I heard these women and these men that were business owners that have these products in here, they are standing for us. They're not against the boycott. And they're saying, hey, go along with it. I'm from these communities. That's why I came out here and did it. But also these products have shelf life, right? So it's not a matter of us going for Target and all these other places. Go buy that stuff up because some of these places are rural places and that's all they can do. They can't go online. Because one of the ladies that I heard, they're from Carolina. And when COVID hit, they couldn't even do a remote school. They still had to go. They still have to go to the stores. So they don't have the option of buying online. So those products, they have to go there.
Well,
so
what you doing is good.
So what I'm saying is, you buy all their stuff. Because they want us out the store anyway. Go in there and get our sister and brother stuff. And then build your own. Because right now, I think in Atlanta, they started the, oh my God, not Black Wall Street. It's something else where they bought out this store. Go put it over there. Get your own Target, get your own Walmarts.
Okay, we respect that and we heard that.
Okay.
You know, we're going to go back to this thing that sometimes some things transpire in life that the only thing you can do is fast and pray.
Okay.
And when you do that, you reconnect yourself with a higher power that's going to be providing everything you need. Don't let the absence of what you think you can get make you forget about the power that's going to give you everything. This is Veterans Talk.
That's a word.
Yeah, that's a word. But it's a word, okay, of course.
It's a thing we're doing, and we're going to continue to do. Because, see, if you don't have dialogue, we ain't got conversation.
You gotta get in those places.
You know, we can easily be torn apart. And, you know, misinformation and the lack of education is a big issue in the way we're being manipulated in this country right now. You know, a lot of people don't understand this, but veterans do. You know, you just can't wipe out a department of education without the Congress, right? So our need to boycott and to direct our hits at these elected officials in our districts. We need you to get on the phone before the 28th, call your elected representatives and let them know what you're finna do and what we want out of them. We want them to stand up for the people that elected them.
And what is it that the people want?
They don't want what's going on, all that garbage, what they doing. I don't know what the VA just laid off 1,000 CD. We don't want all that drama. We don't deserve all that drama. These people was in these jobs and they was doing good jobs. You know, so some of them need to, you know, but then that should be a supervisory level, not the president going in some listen.
Okay. But when you boycott, you gotta know what you want. You can't just go out there and say, hey, I'm doing this and I'm doing that.
No,
you gotta come with some stuff.
That's what we want.
Well, what don't you want?
We don't want none of this. We don't want Elon Musk
telling
people they fired.
Okay.
That's one thing. We don't want Donald Trump telling people they fired like that. That's another thing. The due process that we earned up under the Constitution need to be recognized by all of them all the time. And if they ain't, and they're not doing that now. They find people at the VA. Yeah, I'm the first person to tell you some of them don't need to be fired. But you don't do it in no mass stuff like that. That's not the law. Now, we're going to get away from the laws and let them do what they want to do. I'm going to call my grandson and ask him, why are you still in the military? Why are you going to still serve for this? Well, you got people that call you a sucker. You know, and then they acting like you're a sucker now. calling you a sucker one thing, we was just like treating you like a sucker. That's something else. We need to just, you know, this issue, and I want you young people to understand this. This issue is the biggest threat to everything you are doing right now, and your livelihood, because the way they doing tariffs, ain't never the billionaires gonna benefit. They own multinational corporations. They gonna get paid from import and export from all these countries that they got together. And look how they just realigning themselves right now against Ukraine. After we done sent billions over there to try to save it. They stay in one alliance. Now they want to move us to another alliance. And the alliance that they moving us to, look at the people in the country. China. Listen, the way they work those people over there, the way they work them, sweatshops. That's why tools can be so low. They're playing games with us. You know, we don't need nobody in office in our government playing these kind of games with us. That's
So
all we're saying. Go back to the laws, the Constitution that we served for. Let us continue to grow and develop. Let us continue to thrive as a multi-racial democracy. They want to make it white. Listen, they got somebody over the Department of Defense right now that if a recruit was caught with that record, they give them bad discharge. And we know alcohol is one of the biggest problems that causing bad discharge in the military. What they gonna do now? The Secretary of Defense, he's an abuser of women. You know, we got to speak to this. This ain't normal. We don't put like people like that over our recruits. He's a racist. He got a tattoo.
Who has tattoo? You said he has a tattoo?
Secretary.
Oh, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I guess I chose the middle because I'm like the person.
Well,
in the
you know,
middle of the
because again, being in the military is very diverse. So even to say, you know, we're buying black and doing all these other things, we're putting it back into our community so we can be thriving like everyone else. You know, so that's what we're saying. So it's not like we're doing blackout like us against them. It's not one of those type of situations, because we still want to be, you know, involved with the rest of the world.
We're gonna be involved,
and we're going to be involved. So again,
treat you fair.
Exactly. So again, with us going out here in the community and doing different things like that, if this directly affects, you know, the small businesses, then you do need to go out there and be the voice and speak for the people, the community, because you're the ones that are directly being affected. You're saying alcoholism and all of these other things. Who's affecting this? Back then in that era, it was a crack epidemic, you were saying, and then now we have, you know, all these opioids and different things like that. So this is what is affecting our community now. What is going on here? How are we doing this blackout in black-owned businesses? Because right here is a black-owned business that deals with those type of situations. So how is that affecting our community? You understand what I'm saying? Like, okay, if we don't buy black or we're not building it back in here, those are the people that we have to send out there. So it does start at the bottom of the totem pole to get up there to the electives. Who's speaking for us in the community? We're the voices. The veterans that are coming out, that are now owning these businesses, that need to go to Capitol and speak to, you know, the electives. So it definitely starts here on this platform, and it's about how do we go about it. So it's not just a matter of saying, hey, we're going to stop. You got to come with a solution.
Well, and let me say this, because we're about to go. The blackout is on for the 28th of February.
All right.
You can either be with it or be without it. The impact of what's happening is going to still affect you.
Yeah.
It's going to affect you. Okay, how you look at it. It's real. And what we're going to say, we're going to be here next week doing the same thing. But I want to just remind everybody to go to Sons of Atlanta Vietnam War Memorial website and look at the progress that we're doing and look at the things that we're doing. Now, Veterans Talk is just what it is. You know, we want you, if you want something to say, you got something to talk about, you know, come to the show. You know, we want to share the media with you. But believe this, we're still gonna all be together in this in this community. I love my hometown, and I'm so delighted to see young people working like you, and because see, that's the only way we're gonna save it. We can't wait for somebody out there to come in on a white horse and save us. You know, we got to save ourselves.
That's right.
So
That's right.
you know, I just thank you for being a part of the show, and want you to come back again. Cause see, I do this every Saturday. This is what we do, and this is what I want more than anything, guys. What would be your greatest accomplishment, and when you decided to just step all the way back, that somebody have picked up the mantle of what I'm talking about, what I'm doing, you know, and that's building community, you know, because I represent these 240 guys. Because one of them, my best friend, Louis Herman. We used to walk. He used to pass by my house every day, going to Washington High. We walk. His greatest desire was to come back to the world and do something for his hometown. He didn't make it back, I did. So we're gonna do something for his hometown. And that's making the hometown. All these guys are listed on New Orleans, DC. You know, all of them. But
That's
I want
awesome.
them in their hometown. I want it here.
That's right.
And we got Michael Julian Barnes. That's Julian Barnes' boy. You know, like I be talking about Marvin Anderson Jr. That's Bowleg boy. See, and those are brothers that I know because I knew their families, I knew their history. They're community servants like none others. You know, I mean, I ain't saying no more. You know,
Right. They are.
But they're pillars in our community. And you know, if you want something done down the city council for the people, talk to Julian Barnes. Michael Julian Barnes, boy. And I want to thank Dee for coming out today, like you say she would.
I'm here anytime. Anytime you ask me to show up.
We got to keep it going. If we don't, it's gonna be what it's gonna be anyway. But I think that you know, I believe that greater is He that's in me than He that's in the world. You know, so I'm working with that, and I believe it's gonna make a difference. I'm working.
Yes.
Well,
You
thank
told
all
me
for
about
having
it.
me as well.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for having us.
Yes. So it's 5:01. JoJo done went to sleep back there.
Yeah, JoJo back there sleeping.
JoJo a great guy though. JoJo put up with me.
Yeah.
You
So
know
as we
what?
do peace up, 8 times down.
Uh-oh.
You know, so thank you, Dee.
I appreciate you.